Welcome to the ultimate beginner-friendly small business guide. In this video, I'm explaining all the steps so you know exactly how to get started. 5 years ago, I started my own small business from home. I had no experience, no big budget, and honestly, no clue what I was doing. I made it work, but over the years, I've made a lot of mistakes that I don't want you to make. So you'll also get to learn from my own experiences because that small business has now turned into my full-time job. Over the years, I've gotten so many questions from people who also want to start their small business. I always try to help them the best that I can, but usually it's in my DMs and I can't answer all of those people separately, so I just wanted to make a whole video explaining everything from choosing what you're going to sell to getting your first customers to staying consistent and having the right mindset. If you've just started or you want to start but don't really know where to begin, then this is the video for you. We're obviously starting in the most important phase because of course you'll have to pick the products that you're going to sell. I would say pick something that you're actually interested in yourself. Marketing and selling your products will be way easier that way. If one of your goals is to really scale and hire employees and stuff like that in the future, then you also have to think about that in this stage because you'll have to pick a product where that will be possible. You don't want a product where you have to hand make everything yourself. If you can learn other people, but if it's a skill that takes a year to learn, then that's not ideal if that's one of your goals. But it's also perfectly fine to stay just a one-person business, so that's totally not necessary, but I just wanted to mention it. When choosing what you're going to sell, you want to ask yourself a couple of questions. Is this a product that people can repurchase? Is there a demand for this product? Does this product solve a problem? And can you realistically afford to start a small business with this product? If the answer is yes to all of these questions, then you found a great option. But don't let it stop you if you didn't, you can still try it out. Just to give you an example for these questions, let's say you're starting a self-care business with gift boxes. The problem for some people is that they have no idea which gifts to buy, and your answer is the self-care gift boxes. This is something that people can repurchase, especially if you have different themes. And lastly, you can start with just a couple of gift boxes if you fill them up yourself, so this is definitely an affordable option. You can even make a little comparison between a couple of product ideas that you have, and then you can write down the positives and the negatives and decide that way which one you want to pick. But like I said in the beginning, just make sure it's something that you're passionate about. The next question you have to ask yourself is, where are you going to sell your products? There's 3 main options. I've tried them all out myself, so I have kind of my own experience with them that I'll be sharing. First one is an online shop. I definitely recommend that everyone has their own online web shop. I'm using Shopify. I've used Wix and WooCommerce in the past, but I didn't really like that. WooCommerce was very complicated for me and Wix didn't really have the design options that I liked. And just so you know, lots of big businesses are using Shopify. This is not an ad, I'm just a fan of Shopify. You can also start on Etsy, but I always recommend that you also have that own web shop because a web shop is amazing for long-term growth, and you can also start building your email list, which is also an important thing. You just want to have something that actually belongs to you because your Etsy account actually belongs to Etsy. I've heard so many things about Etsy accounts just being deactivated while they didn't even do anything. And if you're only selling on Etsy, then you've just lost your only selling platform. Personally, I was also selling on Etsy for a while, but I didn't like the high fees, so I just stayed with my own website and I deleted the Etsy. Then we have in-person markets and pop-ups. These are perfect for beginners, but you do want to make sure that you have enough stock to fill your table to bring in more customers and sales. I'm also filming a market tips video this week, so that will be handy if you want to start with selling at markets. I'll be covering how you can find markets that suit you and how to build the best table setup. Otherwise, this video will be way too long if I'm covering all of that in here. One of the best parts about events is that you get instant feedback. You're also getting immediate purchases, and mostly when you're just starting out, you won't be having 10 sales a day on your web shop, but you could have that at a market. You'll also get more confidence because you'll see that people actually like your products. When you sell online, it's much harder to get this feedback from people because not everyone will be sharing their opinion. Then we have wholesale. When you sell wholesale, you're selling your products to other businesses. Not everyone will be able to do this because you need to have higher margins. For example, you want your wholesale price to be at least half of the price that you're using to sell to customers. For example, if you would charge customers a price of 10 euros for a candle, then you want to sell that for 5 euros wholesale. So it's great for bigger purchases because businesses will of course be buying more, but you will have lower margins, so less profits. Personally, I love combining my online shop with in-person markets. Markets are a great place to connect with my customers, and my webshop just helps me scale. If I were to only do in-person markets, I would be so burned out because you have to show up yourself every time. Then we have packaging and shipping. This part can be underestimated very quickly because your products can be amazing, but your packaging also needs to match that. It's what makes it feel like a brand and a real experience to your customers. And just to get this out of the way, good packaging doesn't mean that it has to be very expensive. It does have to be a bit recognizable. People need to know that it's your brand as soon as they open their package. I have a few simple tips. Number one is keep it simple but branded. You can just buy super simple cardboard boxes, but to make it branded you can buy a logo stamp and stamp all of the insides of the boxes, or you can just add a simple logo sticker. And don't forget to add a business card or a thank you card. And my second tip is make opening the package feel special. You can also do this very easily. When it's not too busy, I always write a personal note on the inside of the package. So when they open the package, they'll see thank you and then their name. But it can also already feel special when it's just a pretty package. Simple things like colored tissue paper and a fun sticker already make the difference. You can easily buy these things on Amazon, by the way, because with a lot of wholesalers you have to buy a minimum amount and maybe you don't need that many at the beginning. So I added my Amazon storefront link in my bio. I have all my packaging supplies that I use from Amazon linked in there. Then for shipping, I did make some shipping mistakes early on and I don't want you to make them as well. So one thing I did was not calculating my cost properly. At the beginning I was undercharging for shipping because I didn't know that I needed to pay VAT on my shipping costs. So I was basically already losing 21% on that purchase. I also sent most of my packages by postage mail because jewelry is so small and lightweight. But at the beginning I didn't check the maximum dimensions for a letter-sized parcel. All of my shipping mailers were too big because I didn't check. And then I have another shipping tip. You can use a shipping platform to get cheaper shipping rates, and it also gets cheaper when you start shipping more. I used my parcel, but I think that's only available in Belgium and the Netherlands, so that may not be as helpful for you. If you're in the US, I also heard good things about pirate ship, so maybe that can help you. But you can also just do a quick Google search and compare the different shipping platforms. Then we have marketing. This is the most important thing in my opinion, because this is where most small businesses either grow or just give up. I feel like now making content is less about making sure that everything's perfect. It's more about just showing up consistently. I post multiple times a day across different platforms, but we'll get into that in just a minute. First, I want to talk about the type of content that actually works for small business owners. In my opinion, TikTok and Instagram are the best platforms to use as a small business owner, so you definitely want to be using those. And you want to film and post content like behind the scenes, so film some order packing, maybe film your day as a small business owner, show us what your workspace looks like, even if it's just a desk and a couple of storage bins. People want to see the real things. I feel like people are also interested in the progress, so show us how a new collection launch went, show how many orders you got in your first month. And then lastly, storytelling is also something that really works, but you'll have to be brave enough to be honest and emotional. People don't only want to see your biggest success moments, they also want to see the fails you might have made. You can tell them about why you started your small business and what this means to you, the story behind a specific product. After a while, you'll also be able to share your feelings on the first couple of months of running your small business. And like I said, it doesn't all have to be very positive. Now for my personal posting schedule. I post on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and also on YouTube. But YouTube is more about me personally, not really about promoting my business, but it's all kind of related because a lot of people say that when you have a good personal brand, people will also buy from your small business. On TikTok, I post twice a day on my business page as well as on my personal page. I post one regular reel a day and then I post 2 trial reels. I'm not focusing on my personal Instagram yet, so I'm not posting anything on there, but I do want to start doing that. Then on Threads, I post at least once a day, but that's more kind of a brain dump, so you don't want to think too much about about posting on there. Like, don't go making whole content ideas to post on Threads. And then I also post one YouTube video a week, and I'm posting 2 shorts a day right now. I'm not joking when I say that content creation is half of the job when you're a small business owner. And the biggest thing, consistency is really key. I've had videos with 200 views that brought me a sale, so you really don't necessarily have to go viral. You just have to attract the right people, and when you stay consistent, the platforms will reward you. Because for me, I post daily, and when I don't post for one day, my views will be much lower the next day. So make sure you're planning your content ahead. You don't want to make every video on a day itself, because that will also be kind of discouraging, especially if you're still working a 9 to 5. You don't want to start thinking about a video when you come home every day. In your videos, you want to make sure that you have a hook, so you need to grab people's attention. You don't always want to make a video like, this is my new product, and then it's just a clip of you showing the product. To make it more interesting, you could do something like, I've worked 9 months on this product and it's finally here, and then you're showing it. You want to use hashtags on TikTok, but on Instagram they don't really matter anymore. And just pick hashtags that are kind of describing your video. So if you have a candle brand and you're making the candle, you want to do something like hashtag making candles, hashtag candle business, hashtag candle ASMR if you're maybe doing kind of an ASMR video. Just think about the things that you're showing in the video. Then we have mindset and staying consistent. Having the right mindset is very important as a small business owner. It keeps you from quitting when things are getting hard, or maybe orders are being slow. I truly feel like this part isn't being talked about enough. Yes, there will be slow months, there will be days where you maybe get 0 orders, there will be days where you're wondering if you should just stick to that 9 to 5 job, especially when you're just starting out. That's all very normal, but this is one big thing that can make or break your business. If you have the right mindset, you can almost be certain that this thing will work out, because you just won't let it fail. Here's some things that help me with my mindset. 1, setting realistic goals. I'm not going to set a goal of reaching 1 million in revenue, because I know that's not going to be possible right now. And if you're not reaching any of your goals, that will be very demotivating. Tip 2 is comparing progress instead of going month by month. By this I mean that you don't have to look at each month separately, because then you don't really see the growth. Like, I was just thinking that my January month was being very slow in terms of sales, but then I went to look at January 2025 and I saw that I got only 90 orders then, and also 1k less in revenue. So that gave me the confirmation that I'm actually growing. And then lastly, tip number 3 is remember why you started your small business. For me, it's to get more freedom, and honestly, one day I also want to create jobs for people that they actually can enjoy. I would love to have a big warehouse space where we can all work together and have a bit of fun. Your business might grow slower than you expected, but it's just important to keep going, because you'll never know if the next day you might suddenly have a viral video and then you start getting lots of orders consistently. If you're serious about starting your small business this year, just know this: you don't need it to be perfect, you don't need to have everything figured out, you just need to start. Because everyone makes mistakes, even big business owners still make mistakes, and you'll never know if it could have worked if you've never tried it in the first place. If this video helped you, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss anything. And if you already know what kind of small business you want to start, make sure to leave a comment, because I would love to read it. And I'll see you guys in the next video.